Linux is changing, and if you've been paying attention even a little bit over the past few years, you can feel it. Something big is happening beneath the surface, something that isn't just about performance improvements or security patches or niche features for developers. This time, it's about the way Linux looks, feels, and interacts with users on a daily basis. For decades, Linux was known as the powerful but sometimes intimidating alternative to mainstream operating systems, a place where customization was king, but polish often took a back seat. That narrative is starting to break, and what we're seeing now feels less like gradual improvement and more like the beginning of a full desktop revolution. It starts with design because design is the first thing people notice. You can have the most powerful system in the world, but if it looks outdated or inconsistent, it creates friction. Linux desktops used to suffer from that fragmentation. Different environments looked and behaved completely differently, and while that flexibility was a strength, it also made the ecosystem feel scattered. Today, things are shifting toward a more cohesive and modern aesthetic. Clean layouts, subtle animations, consistent spacing, and attention to typography are becoming the norm instead of the exception. This isn't happening by accident. Developers across multiple desktop environments are aligning around shared design philosophies, and the result is a Linux desktop that finally feels intentional. One of the most noticeable changes is the focus on simplicity without sacrificing power. In the past, Linux desktops often exposed too much complexity up front. New users would open settings panels and get overwhelmed by dozens of options they didn't understand. Now there's a clear effort to streamline that experience. Interfaces are becoming cleaner, settings are better organized, and advanced options are being tucked away where they belong. This doesn't mean Linux is losing its flexibility. Instead, it means that flexibility is being layered in a smarter way, so beginners aren't intimidated while advanced users still have full control. Animations are another area where Linux is rapidly evolving. For a long time, animations on Linux were either minimal or inconsistent, depending on the desktop environment and hardware. But smooth animations aren't just eye candy. They play a crucial role in how users perceive responsiveness and flow. Recent developments in compositors and display protocols are making it possible for Linux desktops to deliver fluid transitions, buttery scrolling, and responsive interactions that rival or even surpass other operating systems. When windows glide instead of jump, when menus fade instead of pop abruptly, it creates a sense of polish that changes the entire experience. Underneath these visual improvements, there's a deeper transformation happening in the technology stack. The move toward newer display systems is enabling features that were difficult or impossible before. Better handling of high refresh rate displays, improved scaling for high-resolution screens, and more consistent rendering across different hardware setups are all becoming standard. This matters more than it might seem at first glance. As hardware evolves, operating systems need to keep up, and Linux is finally closing the gap in areas where it used to lag behind. Customization, which has always been one of Linux's biggest strengths, is also being reimagined. Instead of requiring users to tweak configuration files or install multiple third-party tools, modern Linux desktops are bringing customization into the core experience. Changing themes, adjusting layouts, modifying behavior, all of it is becoming more accessible. You don't need to be an expert to make your desktop feel personal anymore. At the same time, the deeper layers of customization are still there for those who want to go further. This balance between accessibility and depth is a key part of the revolution. Another major shift is happening in how applications integrate with the desktop. In the past, one of the challenges of Linux was inconsistency between apps. Different toolkits, different design languages, different behaviors. It could feel like every app belonged to a different world. That's changing with the adoption of more unified design guidelines and modern application frameworks. Developers are paying more attention to how their apps fit into the overall ecosystem, leading to a more cohesive experience. When everything looks and behaves like it belongs together, it makes the entire system feel more professional and polished. Performance is also playing a crucial role in this transformation. A beautiful desktop means nothing if it feels slow or unresponsive. Linux has always had an advantage in efficiency, but now that efficiency is being paired with visual refinement, modern desktops are managing resources more intelligently, ensuring that animations and effects don't come at the cost of performance. Even on modest hardware, users can experience a smooth and responsive interface. This combination of performance and aesthetics is something that used to be rare, and now it's becoming the standard. The rise of new desktop paradigms is another sign that something bigger is happening. Traditional desktop layouts with taskbars and menus are being rethought. Some environments are experimenting with more dynamic workspaces, gesture-based navigation, and adaptive layouts that change based on how you use your system. These ideas aren't entirely new, but what's different now is the level of refinement and integration. Instead of feeling like experimental features, they're becoming core parts of the user experience. Touch and hybrid input are also influencing the direction of Linux desktops. As devices become more versatile, operating systems need to adapt. Linux is starting to embrace this reality, with better support for touchscreens, gestures, and flexible input methods. This doesn't mean abandoning traditional desktop workflows. Instead, it means expanding the ways users can interact with their systems. Whether you're using a mouse and keyboard, a touchscreen, or something in between, the experience is becoming more fluid and intuitive. Another important piece of the puzzle is accessibility. A modern desktop isn't just about looking good. It's about being usable by as many people as possible. Linux developers are putting more effort into accessibility features, making it easier for users with different needs to navigate and interact with their systems. This includes better support for screen readers, improved keyboard navigation, and more customizable visual options. These changes might not always be visible to everyone, but they represent a significant step forward in making Linux a truly inclusive platform. The community aspect of Linux is also evolving alongside these technical changes. In the past, the community was often focused on power users and enthusiasts. While that core audience is still important, there's a growing recognition that Linux needs to be welcoming to a broader range of users. This shift is reflected in everything from documentation to user interfaces. The goal is to make Linux approachable without diluting what makes it unique. It's a delicate balance, but one that developers seem increasingly committed to achieving. Software distribution is another area where improvements are enhancing the desktop experience. Installing applications on Linux used to involve navigating package managers, repositories, and sometimes complicated dependencies. While those tools are still there for advanced users, newer systems are making app installation much simpler. Unified packaging formats and user-friendly app stores are making it easier than ever to discover and install software. This might seem like a small change, but it has a huge impact on usability, especially for newcomers. Security, which has always been a strong point for Linux, is being integrated more seamlessly into the user experience. Instead of being something users have to think about constantly, security features are becoming more transparent and automatic. Sandboxing, permissions, and system integrity are being handled in ways that don't interrupt the user's workflow. This is another example of how Linux is maturing as a desktop platform, focusing not just on what it can do, but on how it feels to use. The influence of other operating systems can also be seen in this evolution, but it's not about copying. It's about learning what works and adapting those ideas in a way that fits Linux's philosophy. You'll notice familiar patterns and behaviors, but they're often implemented with more flexibility and control. This approach allows Linux to remain unique while still being accessible to users coming from other platforms. Hardware compatibility, once a major pain point, is also improving. Better driver support, more collaboration with hardware manufacturers, and advancements in kernel development are making Linux more reliable across a wide range of devices. This is crucial for the desktop revolution, because no matter how good the software is, it needs to work well with the hardware people actually use. As compatibility improves, more users are able to experience what modern Linux desktops have to offer. Another subtle but important change is the focus on consistency across updates. In the past, updates could sometimes introduce unexpected changes or inconsistencies. Now, there's a stronger emphasis on maintaining a stable and predictable experience. Updates are being tested more thoroughly, and changes are being communicated more clearly. This builds trust with users, which is essential for wider adoption. The role of distributions in this revolution cannot be ignored. Different distributions are taking these advancements and packaging them in ways that cater to different audiences. Some focus on stability, others on cutting-edge features, and others on ease of use. This diversity is one of Linux's greatest strengths, and it allows the desktop revolution to unfold in multiple directions at once. Users can choose the experience that best fits their needs, without being locked into a single approach. As all these changes come together, the perception of Linux is starting to shift. It's no longer just the operating system for developers, enthusiasts, or those who want to escape mainstream platforms. It's becoming a viable, even attractive option for everyday users. The improvements in design, usability, and performance are making it easier for people to make the switch. And once they do, they're finding an experience that's both powerful and enjoyable. What makes this moment particularly interesting is that it doesn't feel like a finished product. It feels like the beginning of something bigger. The pace of development is accelerating, and new ideas are being explored all the time. There's a sense of momentum, a feeling that Linux desktops are not just catching up, but starting to innovate in ways that could influence the broader industry. Developers are more connected than ever, sharing ideas, collaborating across projects, and building on each other's work. This collaborative spirit is one of the reasons why the desktop revolution is happening now. Instead of working in isolation, different parts of the ecosystem are moving forward together. This leads to more cohesive and impactful changes, rather than fragmented improvements. User feedback is also playing a larger role in shaping the direction of Linux desktops. With more people trying Linux and sharing their experiences, developers have access to a wider range of perspectives. This feedback loop helps identify pain points, refine features, and prioritize improvements. It ensures that the evolution of Linux desktops is grounded in real-world usage rather than just theoretical ideas. Looking ahead, it's clear that the Linux desktop is entering a new era. The combination of modern design, improved usability, strong performance, and ongoing innovation is creating an experience that feels fresh and exciting. It's not just about keeping up with other operating systems anymore. It's about defining what a desktop environment can be in a world where computing is constantly evolving. For users, this means more choice, more flexibility, and a better overall experience. Whether you're a longtime Linux user or someone who's just starting to explore it, there's never been a better time to see what the platform has to offer. The desktop revolution isn't a single event. It's an ongoing process, a transformation that's happening right now, and it's only just getting started. As you sit down in front of a modern Linux desktop today, you're not just using an operating system. You're witnessing a shift in how software is designed, how communities collaborate, and how technology evolves. The rough edges that once defined the Linux experience are being smoothed out, replaced by something more refined, more cohesive, and more accessible. And while there's still work to be done, the direction is clear. Linux is getting a new look, but it's more than just a visual upgrade. It's a rethinking of the entire desktop experience, from the way it looks to the way it works to the way it feels. It's about making power accessible, making customization intuitive, and making the desktop something that people genuinely enjoy using every day. This is the beginning of a new chapter, and if the current trajectory is any indication, the future of the Linux desktop is going to be something worth paying attention to.